welcome to the Babar Bar stage the wonderful Tony Smith, who's going to come and talk about four legs and a neigh. So welcome, please, Tony Smith.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to ask, and I can't see very clearly, but how many people have actually sat on a horse, ridden a horse, or worked with horses? Could you put your hands up? Oh, quite a lot. Wow. Oh, well, I can go then. I don't need to be here. Right, well, we're going to talk a little bit about horses and their history and how they came about. And the first slide here is showing you a modern-day pussycat and a skeleton of the first horse, which you see is about the same size as the cat. This skeleton was found in Wyoming in Texas, and it's actually made up of several horses of that species. But you see they're so small, and they eventually ended up getting longer legs, and their feet changed, as did their teeth as well. And this is about 60 million years ago, and at that time there wasn't any grass around. Grass didn't exist. It's quite an advanced plant, grass. So as they got grazing, their feet changed. And on the left-hand side, you see the early horse, which is the one you've just seen, which had 5 toes, and it's gone down to 4 already. You can still see the thumb on the modern horse, but it's halfway up the leg, and it's called something. Would anybody know what it's called? Chestnut, that's right. It's called the chestnut. It's just a little gristle, that's all it is, left of the thumb that was there. And then the next ones were the ones that lost the little finger. So you have the 3-toed horses. They lived for quite a long time, and actually lived the same time as the ones on the right, which is getting to the modern horse, which stands on its middle finger, basically. And its hoof is, of course, the nail that we have. You can still see the 2 splints of the modern horse. It's called splints on the side of the thing. You can feel them on the modern horse on its leg. Of course, early on, and even now, horses had to get up when they were born very quickly. And you see here a mare with a chest had a foal, and the foal is already getting up. And we're talking about less than a minute. The horse, the foal gets up and then goes to the milk bar. And if it didn't do that, it would have been chased by not elephants, but lions, tigers, and other creatures, and consumed. Over the years, the size of the horse changed. There was a species that actually went almost twice as big as the modern cart horse. Twice as big. That's very tall. They didn't last long and died out. But it is a species called the equus. And on the right-hand side, here we see other equus species animals, which is the one on the left, which is a zebra, Chapman zebra. The one on the right is extinct at the moment, but with modern DNA and changes, they reckon they might be able to bring back the quagga. This is called a quagga. It was extinct in South Africa around about the Boer War time. We know that they existed as horses way back about 30,000 years ago because we've seen them on cave paintings. And these cave paintings you can see there, if you look carefully, you can see the arrows because they were probably using the horses as meat, so killing them for meat. The one on the bottom that's got an arrow on it is either a black and white or a brown and white. What we call a black and white horse. Piebald, thank you. And the other one, brown and white? Skewbald, well done. Right, good. The thing here is what's called a rein ring, and it was fixed to the front of a chariot. And we're talking about 2,500 years ago. Before this time, wheels on chariots and other vehicles were solid. but because of warfare, they had to make them lighter, and therefore you start to get spoked wheels coming in. And this is a rein, a silver rein actually, where the reins went through on the front of a chariot. And they were much faster, they could go along and be useful in warfare. One of the things about the horses is the stirrups. And you can see here this slide with the Assyrian cavalry bowman. He hasn't got any stirrups. And the reason he hasn't got stirrups is because he hasn't got a saddle. He's got a recurved bow, because the long bow you couldn't use on the back of a horse, it's too long. Recurved bow was the one that they would use, and they were very clever agility horsemen. Of course, they had to grip with their legs to sit on the horse. Even the Romans didn't have stirrups, as we see here. This is a friend of mine called Jim, who did reenactments, and this is Pevensey Castle, and he also hasn't got stirrups there because they're not wearing a saddle. But we go along to middle of the ADs, about 650 AD, and we see here now a relief with a Chinese warrior who is got a saddle on there, and because he's got a saddle, he can also have stirrups, and it's much more stable, obviously, to be able to ride with stirrups much easier. The wooden horse, which you've probably heard about, of course, is mythological. There's no evidence that the wooden horse actually ever existed in the stories about Troy. However, the creature on the right-hand side here, I've seen its skeleton. The skeleton's in the museum, in the Army Museum in London. That's Napoleon's horse. Right, what is the name of Napoleon's horse? Sorry? Marengo. Right, the next one is the Duke of Wellington's horse at the Battle of Waterloo. Begins with C, it's a famous town in the Baltic, Copenhagen. Right, Copenhagen. Alexander the Great's horse. Bucephalus, well done. I don't know who said that, but well done, that's good. Bucephalus. That lived to about 33 years old, 31 years old, something like that, and died having brought Alexander out of the battle that they were fighting. Dick Turpin's horse. We all know that. Black Bess, well done. And the last thing, the offspring of Medusa and the sea god Poseidon. Pegasus, well done, Pegasus. Right, a little bit about the Battle of Hastings. We've got here the buyer's tapestry with the creatures, all the horses in the boats. So William did actually bring the horses over with him, and they then landed at Norman's Bay in that area. And then they all go to Senlac Hill, and in the foreground we have the Normans, cavalry, and then the infantry. And on the hill at the top there with the red shields, right amongst the red shields is the house guards and is Harold, King Harold, who was defending himself. Of course, in those days, this battle would have been the whole of the high street of battle, all the way down from the fire station, all the way down to Lower Lake. The army would have been all the way down there. And the battle then started, charging up the hill, usually missiles and arrows and stones to start with. I can see my daughter, actually, who's here tonight over there, is the one who's coming towards us on a horse called Honey. So we used to do quite a lot of reenactments to help for the charity I run, which is Brown Bread Horse Rescue Centre in Ashburnham. And then we've got the Crusades, which are dressed like that. And I must say, I had this instance where we were having 6 horses all lined up on the farm to do a reenactment of a charge down the field of about 100 yards. And 3 of the horses, the director said, we want 3 of the horses to go to the right of the camera, which is in the distance, and 3 to the left of the camera. And when you get there, pretend you're spearing something. So I said, okay. And the wardrobe department came round with their helmets, the round helmet like this. I put it on my head and reached for the chin strap. And there wasn't a chin strap. So I was just about to say, excuse me, can I have a... And too late. The cameraman, the producer in the distance said, stand by, action. So we start walking. Now, I've got in my hand here 4 reins, shield on my hand, spear in my right hand. I can't touch the helmet. So as we go along, break into the trot, I thought, I know what's going to happen now. Sure enough, the helmet goes up and down like that. But worse still, it starts to go round. I can't touch it, so I have to flick my head like this to get it to go round back the other way. And then I find that the horse doesn't like this horse. His friends are over the other side there. And I've got to go to the right of the camera, and it's not going. So I get closer and closer. We get into the canter, and then a bit of a gallop, and I bring my spear down, and I think I'm not going to get to the right side of the camera. I'm going to have to go to the left. So I pulled it over, let the horse go where it wanted, pulled it over, and I speared the tripod of the camera. Well, the cameraman jumped out of the way and said a very rude word, but anyway. Right, we go on to the time of the London to Bristol mail coach, 1840. How long do you think the coach took from London to Bath or Bristol? Yeah, much at the same time as now. No, actually about 15 hours, which is surprising really, isn't it? And then we've got here the opening up of the Wild West, Wells Fargo, the mail coaches opening up the West there. The last one I thought was fascinating because this is the girl on a quarter horse who's going around barrel racing, as they call it. The angle there is amazing. You think that horse is going to fall over, and it's not. It's actually just going round the barrel like that. And I've seen one even steeper than that going round the barrels. Lastly, this is a cavalry charge. And I'd like to ask you when you think this cavalry charge took place. Any shout out, what date do you think it is? 1870. Korean War? 19 what? Very close, right. We got to 1940. It's actually 1941, and it is the Polish cavalry charge. You see they've got guns on their backs as well, but they've got their swords in. So if anyone says, when was the last cavalry charge, you know it was in the Second World War. Thank you. Right. I'm just going to read you one of my poems because I've published a book a couple of years ago, and I was going to read you one of my poems out of the book. The book is called Four Legs and the Neigh, as you've probably heard. Four Legs and the Neigh. And the poem here is called Those Pony Days. All my poems I write, there's stories in here. There's about 38 stories and about 10 poems, I think. But this one is called Those Pony Days, and they're all telling a story, one of my works. Happy as the pony with a bright white forelock, trotting through the forest in the deep green shade, sharing the silence with myriads of insects buzzing and hovering around each glade. You may recognize the rhythm there is John Masefield's rhythm, Cargoes. The poem Cargoes that he wrote is dirty British coaster with a salt cake smokestack butting through the channel in the mad March days. So the rhythm is the same as that. Saddle and the leatherwork creaking to the movement, urging that the rider must be alert. Hands so neatly hold the reins weakly, making sure the pony isn't getting any hurt. Down goes the head as the pony takes to gallop. Oh, cries the gal as the trees go rushing by. Branches make a thrashing, clods of earth go crashing, Headlong goes the duo against the crimson sky, splashing through the water where the stream is shallow, dashing through the forest, the meadows where the farmer shouts, knee-deep in sedges, over the hedges, there's none can stop this pony as it frolics hereabouts. Canter down the high street, traffic in the frenzy, shoppers on the pavement, dashing from the show, bicycle knocked over, drunk from pubs get sober, the rider tries to bail out but is not adept to go. Winding up its efforts, tensing like a spring, there comes a sudden flick as it bucks real hard. Up goes the rider, soaring like a glider, landing in a flower bed in some backyard. You naughty little pony with a bright white forelock, putting all those people into disarray. I love you so dearly and don't care really. Let's ride again this weekend when my bruiser's gone away.
Tony Smith, everybody. Fantastic. Wasn't that great?